One tag, 1 week, one shot to make it count. This is for the hunters who hit the road and get after it, no matter the odds. This is Drawn West. Welcome back to another Drawn West podcast brought to you by Go Hunt. Like always, I'm your host, Brian Krebs. And today's episode, last week we covered the elk gear list. We are working on, or maybe even have the whitetail list and the mule deer list ready to rock and roll. The rifle elk, rifle mule deer, going to be very similar lists, to be honest with you. Maybe just a couple of things I would personally tweak on the optics, maybe a couple of personal things I would tweak on the gear. Whitetail, this is going to be the Midwest version of the list, right? It's going to be deer camp. It is a completely different list, right? You do not use the same things out in the mountains as you do at deer camp. We're going to have an archery version of whitetail. We're probably going to have a firearm version of whitetail. Not quite sure. But today, we're going to talk about what we hinted at last week. So if you didn't catch last week's episode, go back and catch that. Go get the gear list. Even if you're on a mule deer hunt and we don't quite have the mule deer thing rocking and rolling yet, just grab the elk. It's the same basic thing. Just swap out your cooler sizes. Maybe pick better the optics that you're going to use. You know, for a mule deer hunt, maybe you're spending a lot more time breaking apart a mule deer. You want maybe bigger glass. Maybe you want smaller glass because you're going to be walking in deeper. But it's basically the same list. So go get yourself the rifle elk list, and that'll cover you. But we're going to talk about clothing systems in this episode. So we didn't really cover clothes in the last episode because we wanted to do a full segment on how to build your clothing system so that it works together. Each piece builds off of your other stuff. And we're really excited for it. This is a topic that I absolutely love. I nerd out on gear. I'm an engineer. I like design. I'm a systems engineer, so I really like when the system works together. And so we're going to nerd out on it. Before we kick this off, please, if you have not yet, give us a subscription. Follow the podcast on whatever platform you like, whether it's Apple, Spotify, all the rest of them. Please subscribe. It really helps the analytics of the show, and it helps the show reach more people so we can help everyone be successful in the West. And we're really trying hard right now to hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. We've been doing one new thing with this podcast is we're going full video all the time. Knock on wood. Hopefully we don't ever have to do an audio only, but we are trying to grow our YouTube. We're at 924 subscribers right now, which is awesome. Trying to hit that 1,000. That 1,000 mark unlocks a lot of tools for us. So if you have a minute, please go and follow us on YouTube. With that, let's get started. So when it comes to clothing, I'm going to say this once right out in front of the game. I use Sitka. I'm not ashamed of it. I love Sitka gear. I was a Sitka hater for a long time. I was like, no one needs to spend that much on hunting clothes. And over time, you'd get, a pair of gloves for Christmas, maybe a hat, maybe a hoodie, and it starts to build on you. Then I bought a pair of pants and I was like, okay, I'm sold. That was the difference maker. Buying hunting gear that's meant for the mission you're on makes a world of difference for your mission. So what does that mean? Having pants that are built to hunt the West. There's a lot of good brands out there. First Light's a phenomenal brand. Kuyu's a phenomenal brand. Sitka's a phenomenal brand. There's a few others. Those are the big three. But picking something that's built for what you're trying to do is going to make a world of difference. Compared to wearing like your whitetail clothes, two different things. It's like wearing a football helmet to home plate. Yes, it's a helmet, but it's not meant to be hitting home runs with. And that's the difference, really. Can you do it? Sure, you can do it. You can go get whatever camo you want. You could go to Walmart and get Walmart camo and be successful. But it does really help to have gear that's meant for the mission. So I'm going to use Sitka language. I don't care what brand you use. If you are looking for a piece of gear that I talk about today, everything I talk about is going to be linked on our pack list. So right now, Rifle Elk, it's live. If you're curious how these systems work together and you want to know the specifics, they're all linked in that pack list. So go get yourself that pack list if you're curious. But I like to build clothing systems that work together. And it is expensive. They're all expensive. Sitka's probably the worst, but Kuiu is right behind them. First Light's not cheap either. So I don't want to be buying clothes that only can do one job. I want to buy clothes that are designed for the jobs I want to do and then find ways to leverage them to use in multiple settings. So I have one set of clothes. I have one color. Pretty much everything I own is Sitka Open Country. I love the Open Country for one reason and one reason only. It works in almost any setting. I've hunted geese in wheat fields in it. I've hunted ducks in cattails in it. I've hunted early season whitetails, late season whitetails. I've hunted antelope, elk, mule deer. I've hunted everything in Sitka Open Country. I think it's one pattern that's very universal because it's that kind of gray tone. The subalpine is a great color. Abby has a ton of gear in subalpine. Great for everything. Might lack a little bit of the like darker color. It's a little bit too green for like late season or maybe like um I don't know, antelope. There's not a lot of green in antelope country. But the reason I picked open country because it is versatile, and I knew I was going to use whatever I wanted or whatever I was going to invest the money in. And disclaimer for everyone: I have not ever gotten gear from Sitka for free. I've gotten birthday present Sitka, I've gotten Christmas present Sitka, so technically those were free. But Sitka, the company, has never sent me anything. Um, if you buy something off the checklist, I get like a small percentage commission. Nothing to quit my day job over, but like I didn't just get handed a bunch of Sitka at one time and now I'm a Sitka fanboy. I am a Sitka fanboy, but I bought it. I bought a majority of it. And I found a lot of discounts along the way. But I just wanted to make that clear. I didn't get the Sitka truck didn't come to my house and just give me a bunch of stuff and now I'm telling you why it's the best. I don't care what brand you use. Go figure it out. Pick a brand that you like. What I'm going to talk about and the way I'm going to talk about these pieces of clothing, you can apply it to any brand. I'm going to talk about what the clothes does as a tool and how to layer these tools together to get a system. It doesn't have to be one brand. You can mix and match brands. I personally hate that. I will never wear Kuiu and Sitka. I would just get all one or the other. That's my brother, total opposite. I once watched him shoot an elk wearing 5 different pieces of camo. 5 different camo patterns he shot an elk. So clearly it can be done. Um, but like I said, it is expensive. It's an investment. The piece of Sitka that I've had the longest is my Jetstream jacket. I have had that for 9 years now. I sent it in to get a couple of things fixed on it, and they have lifetime guarantees on their seams and their zippers. Um, but I probably wear that jacket 100 days a year between bow hunting, rifle, firearm, deer, out west, shed hunting. If I go waterfall hunting, I'm wearing that jacket. If I'm scouting, sometimes I'm wearing that jacket. Sometimes just walking around in the woods, I'm wearing that jacket. I probably average 75 plus nights or 75 plus days a year in that jacket. Over 9 years. That's a lot. And so, yeah, it was an expensive jacket, but it's well worth it to invest in good gear that's going to last. And any brand can do that. So, yes, it's an investment. It lasts a long time, but I'm going to make the most out of that investment. And here is how I make the most. Starting with the tops, right? I want tops that I can wear throughout this different seasons, right? Because I don't want to have, this thing only works in this month or in this temperature range, and this only works in this temperature range, and this only works for this thing. And now I have to buy multiple different things. I don't want to buy the whole Sitka catalog. I don't have enough money for that. And so it starts simple. Your base layer next to skin, right? That's the simplest way to think of base layers. On top, I'm pretty much always rocking a lightweight long sleeve base layer. So I like the ones with the hoods. I just love a hood. I know that they stack up and some people hate having like 6 hoods. I don't mind it. I never have 6, usually 3 or 4 is the most. I don't care. I've always had fine with it. The reason why I don't buy crew necks is because when I use that sole piece alone, only wearing one top. So let's say Nebraska last year, Nebraska whitetails, it was 100 degrees. sun's beating down, it's super hot. I want a loose, light, airy, long sleeve with a hood. So that way I can put the hood up. I'm not burning my neck. I'm not burning my head. I'm bald, by the way. So all these trucker hats with the mesh backs, they will sunburn me if I don't put sunscreen on. I don't want to wear sunscreen on a hunt. It seems kind of weird. There's a scent to it. It's sticky. So I just always have the hood. And that's why I don't want to buy a crew neck long sleeve, because then I can't, or I don't like it for when I'm early season hunting and super hot. Yeah, it would be maybe better late season when I have it under a hoodie and a jacket with hoods. But I just always go super light, kind of dry fit. I think it's the Sitka version is and this is how bad I am, because I just think it's the lightweight tee. I should know all these things because like I said, I'm a Sitka fanboy. I think it's the lightweight.
Having the right tool for the job can make all the difference in the world, and that applies for our Western hunts too. Especially if you're coming from the Midwest like myself, because if you don't have it, there's no going home to get it. That's why many of us Western hunters are also gear junkies. And the same is true for the folks over at Go Hunt. They have built the Go Hunt Gear Shop to be jam-packed full of the best, highest quality gear needed for your Western hunts. They try out everything that gets into the shop, and if they don't like it or if they don't use it, it doesn't make the cut. So if you need something for your next trip, Go Hunt has something for you in their gear shop. They've got everything from optics, camping gear, accessories, apparel, footwear. They've got packs. They've got some of the best brands in the industry. So if you're in the market for some new gear, consider checking out the Go Hunt Gear Shop. They're an avid supporter of the outdoors. They're supporters of this podcast. And most importantly, they're supporters of you. They want to help you be more successful in the West. So there's no better place to shop for your gear, information, or knowledge than Go Hunt. And if you use the code DRAWNWEST when you check out, you're going to get 10% off most of the regular priced items in the Go Hunt Gear Shop. So head over to GoHunt.com, get the gear you need, use the code DRAWNWEST, and get the right tool for the job this fall.
Let's see, water hunt, big game, shirts. Yeah, core lightweight crew or core lightweight hoodie. The hoodie's the one I like. The core lightweight hoodie comes with a face mask now. Pretty cool for bow hunting. So that's the light, airy, almost like a dry fit material. And so that's my base layer. So early season, like I said, 100 degrees in Nebraska, that's probably all I'm wearing. Now, on top of that, the next piece I would wear for my mid layer is just kind of that like medium weight, heavyweight. Specifically Sitka, it's the heavyweight hoodie. It's like I would say like a light sweatshirt. Like your football team sweatshirt, the sweatshirt I'm wearing if you're watching the YouTube. It's like a light version of this, not quite this heavy. I generally, and this is just a preference, don't wear that one next to skin. I don't know why. I just always typically wear the lightweight first. Or I do have a couple like random pieces of camo that I would still wear, especially if I knew I was going to wear the mid layer, like that medium weight hoodie. I might throw on one of those other camo t-shirts underneath. There was a time when I was broke and I couldn't afford 4 or 5 Sitka tops, so I had $5 or $10 Walmart or maybe a $15 Fleet Farm version, and then one Sitka top to go over the top. So early season, like I said, next to skin layer, base layer. About right now, October, I'm starting to throw on that heavyweight hoodie, right? Early October. So late September, early October here in Minnesota, starting to get chilly, 60 degrees. There's just a little chill in the air. I'm starting to throw on that heavyweight hoodie over the top. So now I have basically a t-shirt and a sweatshirt on for street clothes version, right? So those two pieces now cover me all the way from like August when seasons kick off into October. So the next thing on my list is a windproof jacket. And I said this specifically because in the West and pretty much anywhere, it's always windy. It's always windy. If you're in a tree, it's windy. If you're on a ridge, it's windy. And if you can cut that wind and keep that wind off of you or from like getting through your clothes, you'll stay infinitely warmer. And so the next thing I have in the Sitka universe is the Jetstream jacket. I absolutely love the Jetstream. That's the jacket I told you about that I've probably worn 500 to 1,000 times. It's amazing. It's super durable. It's windproof. It's got a little bit of insulation value to it. So I would say you could wear that jacket alone to like 55, 60 degrees. Um, yeah, I'd probably say 55, 60. It's probably a little light to wear it. Like I'm talking like when I say alone, I'm like a t-shirt, like a cotton t-shirt and that jacket. You could probably wear it down to 60. Um, but the system that I have, if you pair that jacket, that windproof shell with your mid layer, now that brings you down into the 40s. I've hunted it down to 40 before with that system, right? So now we've got three pieces of top layer gear, and we're hunting anything from 40 degrees to 100 degrees. And we have everything in between. If it's a light drizzle, that Jetstream, it's not waterproof, but it's pretty water resistant. So that covers you for a light drizzle. I'm talking light drizzle. It's not a rain jacket. If it's windy, I'll throw that on if it's windy in 70 degrees, just to cut the wind. If it's windy in 80, I probably don't need a jacket because now it's probably cooling. The wind's probably cooling me off, not making me cold. And so, but under 70, basically like house temperatures, I'll throw the Jetstream on for sure if it's windy. So those are the three pieces. So those are like those are my everyday, you know, tried and true. I'm probably wearing those three pieces on 80% of the hunts I go on, right? Because usually I don't do like the like early 100-degree heat hunts. I'm usually doing like September elk, October antelope, November mule deer. I'm probably wearing those 3 days out of 4, 4 days out of 5. Elk hunting, I'm wearing the jacket in the morning. I might pop it off in the heat of the day, but then I'm putting it back on when it chills off at night. Those are my three core pieces on top. And so for a little bit of an investment in those three pieces, you cover a majority of your hunting season right off the bat. And you don't need to get crazy. Yeah, over time you might add a second heavyweight hoodie, you might add a second and third lightweight top. You don't need more than one jacket. And so then you can start to maybe make it like into a 7-day hunt or a 9-day hunt without smelling like an absolute raccoon at the end. Um, but that's over time. Like put it on your Christmas list, save up. You don't have to buy them all at once. So from there, you're like, well, 40 degrees gets a little colder than that, Brian. Sure. Yeah, it does. So from there, I've added in a couple pieces. The first one that I'm loving more and more as time goes on is a thermal jacket. So we had a windproof jacket. Now there's like a thermal jacket. What I'm not talking about is the huge big parka, right? Because that is a super expensive piece of gear that only does one job. It only works when it's less than 40 degrees. You never wear your huge parka for anything else. And that's the downside to buying pieces like that only do one thing. So for my thermal jacket, I'm using the Kelvin Aerolite. It's just a puffy layer. You've seen these. North Face has them, Patagonia has them. Everybody has them. They're Primaloft puffy jackets. They're lightweight, they're super compressible. On its own, it's a pretty cool layer. Like I will talk about this a little bit for white in the whitetail system. I'll throw that on at deer camp when you're sitting out by the fire, when you're, quartering a deer, it's on the hanging pole. It's a perfect, like, just like it's very warm. It's warmer than a sweatshirt or a hoodie or like what I'm wearing right now, like a cotton sweatshirt. It's warmer than that. Um, and so that's a great layer to add at any level if it's just a little bit too cold for what you got, right? So, for example, you're hunting, um, you're wearing your base layer and your medium layer. You're in the tree stand. It's starting to get chilly. That Kelvin Aerolite is like 4 ounces, 6 ounces. I don't know. It's super light, packs down super small. So you could always have that thing in your bag and you will never know it's there. Pop it on, pop it over, and you're going to warm up probably. It's probably going to take like 10 to 15 degrees off the temperature, right? So if it's 40 wearing that jacket, it'll feel like it's 55. Um, it's really helpful. But when you add it into your thermal jacket, Now you've created the big parka, right? You've got an insulation layer, you've got a windproof layer. Underneath, you've got your two base layers, probably one or two base layers, either your base layer and your mid or just your mid. And with those three pieces of gear, you've essentially created the $5, $6, $7, $800 parka, but you also have a tool that can do a different job. You get cold quick, throw on your puffy. It's windy or drizzling, throw on your jet stream. It's 100 degrees, take them all off and just wear your base layer. It's 70 degrees, throw on the midweight. You got options, right? With those four pieces of gear, you've come up with like one, two, three, four, five. I think it's like 8 options that you could pair all of those different combinations together and get 8 different things. And you're going to do that. If you get all these things, you're going to find what works for you. From there, there's 2 optional ones, I think. I don't think they're as important as the first 4. Those first 4 I'm bringing on every hunt. When I go to my parents' house bow hunting, I got one of each of those. If I'm going out west on an elk hunt, I'm bringing them all. I brought my jet stream to Nebraska just in case, but I didn't wear it because it was so hot. I brought the thermal just in case, but I didn't wear it. Actually, I did wear the thermal one night. It got a little chilly one night, and we were having like a 3 a.m. bonfire. But from there, 2 optional pieces on top, a thermal vest, so you can get the Kelvin in a vest. The Kelvin Light Puffy, you can get it in a puffy vest if you prefer those vests. Think Finance Bro, but camo, basically. Um, you can get that. Actually, no, the thermal vest is more of the puffy vest. I don't think do Finance Bros wear puffy vests, or do they wear like the flat vests? Well, the next one's the flat vest. So you get the thermal vest. So some people just like vests, and every now and then I like a good vest too. I don't need all the bulk on my arms, especially bow hunting. I'll maybe go for the vest before I go for the full Kelvin, just to add some core heat, but then not to get all my arms all full. And then the light vest, so that you can also get a Jetstream vest, and that will cut the wind just like the Jetstream does. It's actually a really versatile piece because you can kind of throw it on, and you're not doing the full jacket if you don't want the full jacket. So those are 2 optional pieces that you can kind of add in at any will. I'm usually carrying both the thermal vest and the thermal jacket in my pack for anything October and after, right? Because it can get cold, especially those temperature swings can go fast, especially in the mountains. So I'm probably bringing both, to be honest. So for a day pack, I'm probably wearing my base layer, I'm probably wearing my mid layer, and I'm probably starting out with my Jetstream on. And I've got the Kelvin jacket and the Kelvin vest in my pack. That's my top system. The last one is just a weatherproof jacket. Have a plan for if it rains. I don't have, to be honest with you, I don't have a great rain jacket right now. My brother has the dew point set and it's phenomenal. So that's what's linked in our sheet. I generally just roll the dice and hope it doesn't rain because I do not like hunting in rain gear, but I have a plan for it. And my plan, we talked about it in the last episode, is the rain fly. For $50, I can keep everyone dry rather than spending $400-$500 on a set of rain gear for myself. You just can't be mobile with it, right? It's a tent. It's basically a tent fly that you set up and get on.
Hey friends, if you're listening to this podcast, I know you're an avid hunter just like myself, and we are always looking to get more time in the woods each season. One of the ways that's helped me get more time in the stand is by using Maverick hunting blinds. When I'm comfortable, I stay in the stand longer and I'm more focused on deer. I don't turn around so my hood cuts the wind, I'm not taking shelter from the rain, and the best way to stay comfortable is with a hard-sided blind, and my favorite is Maverick's XL blind, which allows me to rifle hunt, bow hunt out at the same stand. The best part is Maverick has a blind for every spot. So whether you're looking for a rifle only option or a bow and rifle, even a round blind to cut down some of that wind resistance, Maverick has you covered. No matter which option you go with, you're going to be comfortable and sit longer in the stand for all of your upcoming hunting seasons. Go to maverickhunting.com and use the code DRAWNWEST, that's one word, DRAWNWEST, to get 10% off your next blind and elevate platform.
Underneath if it's really raining. So I just kind of suck it up. I'd like to add that one day. I just haven't I haven't spent the money on it. It hasn't been as big of an issue. Antelope hunting hardly ever rains, and then October, November, you're probably looking at snow, not rain anyway. So um, that's just how I treat the rain jacket. But have a plan, have a plan for if it rains, especially if you're going somewhere where it rains a lot. Colorado elk, it rained every day, and I had to get under my tarp every day. And then a blaze orange, right? This is a rifle elk list. If you got a blaze orange, you gotta wear it. I just use blaze orange vests. I don't buy jackets that are blaze orange anymore for the same reason we've talked about. You buy a blaze orange jacket, now you can only use it for one thing. And blaze orange jackets aren't cheap, especially if you're going to get one that's warm enough to cover you and keep you warm during these archery or these rifle seasons. They're usually later, October, November, December sometimes. So I always just go for the blaze orange vest. I have the Sitka shooter. I actually really like it. It's super light, simple. It has a ballistic pad in the shoulder. You can put it on left or right. Me and Abby both use the Sitka ballistic orange vest. I like it because it doesn't tie up a jacket just to be orange. And that's the system. That's my top system. I've never brought anything warmer than those pieces out west before. And I've managed to survive every hunt I've done. And so when I say like, oh yeah, it's easy to stay warm on an archery elk hunt, for the most part, yes. One year we had 20s to 40s. We got 2 feet of snow. It was in the teens at night. It was a cold, cold week. We also shot 2 bulls that week, so it was a very successful week. I didn't have any more clothes than that. I just added all those layers. So if it's that cold, and you're moving, you're generally staying hot anyway. But you put on a mid layer, your thermal vest, your thermal jacket, and a jet stream, you're going to stay pretty good and warm. That is a big, heavy jacket by the time you piece all those together. And that's why I built it that way. I've also done North Dakota in November. I remember I was hunting, I did a morning sit, and when I turned the truck on at who knows 5 a.m. to go out for the morning to drive to my spot, it was 13 below. It was cold. I didn't have anything warmer than what I've got on that list. I had I think I might have put 2 mid-layer tops on, a windproof jacket, the thermal layers underneath. I had all of the layers on, and I wasn't sweating by any means, but I'm still here to talk about it. I've done a million shed hunts, folks. And when I say a million, obviously I don't mean a million. I've done a lot of shed hunts below zero wearing a combination of those things. Sometimes it's literally just the mid layer and the jet stream with a thermal in my pack. 5 below, if you're moving, you're not going to get cold. You got to keep moving though. You can't stop in glass. That's where the thermal jacket really comes in handy. If you're going to stop in glass, throw that thermal layers on and you're going to stay warm while you're glassing. So it works. I don't buy the big stuff. I don't have the blizzard parkas. I don't have the $500-600 Western jackets because I don't hunt that late. If I was hunting a lot of like late December, January, like shoulder tags in Montana, Alaska, yeah, maybe I would have to rethink this. But for what I do, this has covered me, and I think it'll cover you too for a lot of what you guys might be up to. So moving right along down to the bottom, for the bottoms, it's basically the same. It's the same strategy. It's the same thought process. Nothing crazy going on here. You start with your underwear, boxers, whatever. I'm not linking underwear, guys, on the on the checklist. Figure out your underwear for yourself. I like compression shorts like Under Armour or Nike Pros when I'm hunting, just because they don't bunch up and they wick sweat. Whatever you want. Then I have the light base layer bottoms. I use the merino wool. This is actually a pretty versatile piece, right? Because it's merino, so it doesn't make it too hot usually. It wicks moisture really well. So if it does get a little too hot, it's pulling that moisture off, that sweat off of you, and it's helping you cool off that way. I've been actually wearing it recently just bow hunting here at the house. And if you put that base layer on, that merino wool, it's very thin, super high bang for your buck on that one. And you really only need like one or two for like a 9 or 10 day week or 10-day hunt, maybe. One's probably good enough. So there. So if it's super hot, I'm wearing, and maybe I'll back up. If it's super hot, right? Underwear, I have a couple different pants, light duty or heavy duty, or I say medium duty. If it Nebraska, 100 degrees, I was wearing my light duty pants. I think those on the Sitka site, I'm so bad with the names, and they change them every now and then. My lightweight pants, did they change the name again? They might have. Traverse. I think I'm running the Traverse. It's super thin, super lightweight, a really early season pant for like lots of walking and hiking. Um, that's what it's basically made for. It doesn't have a lot of warmth protection. So that's my early season pant, a light duty pant. If it gets a little chilly, I can take that same Traverse pant and I can put the Sitka lightweight bottoms on. I don't know what those are called either. I'm the worst. This is why Sitka doesn't sponsor me, because I don't remember all the names to all their things. And that's okay. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna do it if that's what it takes. I missed it. It was called base layers. Hunt, big game, base layers. This episode is brought to you by Matthews Archery. Folks, I just upgraded my Halon to the all-new Matthews Lift X, and I absolutely love it. I went with the 33-inch axle, which is a great fitting bow for anyone like me that's got a little bit longer draw length. And I also went with the 80-pound limbs this time because it gives me the flexibility whether I want to shoot it at 70 for whitetails in Target League, or if I want to bump that up to 75 or 80 the next time we go on an archery elk hunt for a little extra energy. And the one thing that I am still blown away by is how smooth this bow shoots. There's no hand vibration when it goes off. It's incredibly quiet, and it's an absolute tack driver. So if you're in the market for a new bow, head over to MatthewsInc.com and check out the new Lift X, either the 29.5 or the 33, depending on what you're looking for. And you're going to see why I've been loving my new Lift X. And I'm probably going to be right. Yep, core lightweight bottom. That's what it's called. Super cheap. So you can put that on. That gets you a little bit farther down in the temperatures. Not a terrible amount. So I'm using that lightweight pant. I use it shed hunting. I'll use it bow hunting early season. Archery, elk hunting for sure. That could be one. If I'm moving into antelope, mule deer, rifles, things where I might have to crawl, then I'm usually switching to my medium duty pant. And that's why I said light duty or medium duty and not necessarily like lightweight and medium weight and heavyweight, because the weight actually doesn't change much. The thermal insulation doesn't actually change much. The pants are just tougher. They're a little bit warmer, but they're mostly just tougher. And they have integrated knee pads. So if you're spot and stocking an antelope and you're crawling across the savanna, those integrated knee pads are a lifesaver, especially if you misplace a cactus into your knee. My dad has done that multiple times. My buddy that I brought out to Montana on a mule deer hunt crawled through 100 yards of cactuses. You got to watch out for the cactus, folks. They sneak up on you, but if you got the knee pads, at least they're not getting into your knees. And so that's the medium duty. So then I'll wear that pretty much same temperature range. Maybe it goes a tad colder than the Traverse, but then you pair that with like the light base layer bottom, and you're probably, well, this year I was using it down to, I think we were in the high 50s and I was plenty warm. So probably 50 degrees in a tree stand. I'm wearing that. If you're active, I don't wear base layers if I'm elk hunting and walking around all day, almost until it's below freezing. I would not probably wear a base layer at 40 degrees. I've done a lot of shed hunting at 0 degrees without any base layers, actually. So as long as you're moving, I don't wear them. But tree stand hunting, glassing, that's when you're going to want to wear them. So from there, what's the next option? The heavy base layer. The heavy base layer, it's just thicker. It's kind of the same material as the heavyweight top. Gets you a lot colder in temperatures. Keeps you a lot warmer, I should say, than the light ones. And so that's a good next layer. So I might, if it's 30 degrees and I'm tree stand hunting, I might throw on the heavy base layer and my medium duty pant. And that's going to probably keep me warm down to freezing if you're not moving. Um, if you are moving, could be significantly colder, probably down to 0 to be honest, if you're moving, and you'll be fine. And then if you want, you can add all three. So you add that little light merino layer right next to skin, put the thermal layer over that, then put your medium duty pant over that. Now you're starting to build like a solid pant, right? And honestly, out west, I have never brought or worn anything more than that. That is the most I've ever worn, and I've stayed warm glassing um, into like the November time frame. It gets the 13 below, like that wasn't an all day thing. Um, a couple hours, then you get up, you move to the next spot, and that kind of held. It wasn't the best, but it's doable. So that's what I'm wearing for the pants. If it gets colder than that, I do have a pair of Dakotas, which are actually from the waterfall line, but that's kind of like an insulated pant. So then that gets one step even colder yet. It's a super awesome pant. The problem is I got a little too chubby and now they don't fit. And that's a big problem. So I'm working on that. But that would be my like heavy duty pant would be the Dakotas. Now, you might be thinking, Brian, what do you do when you're tree stand hunting in Minnesota at 0 degrees? Well, then I have two pieces of gear. I kind of go against the grain of what I said earlier. I do have a couple pieces of gear that are the big, heavy bibs for whitetail hunting. But I separate that because this is Western. We're talking the Western systems right now. And so I don't bring them out West. There's a time and a place to have that one thing that does one job. And I'll tell you what, 10 below, 5 below, 15 below. I've bow hunted down to 15, no, 18 below. Was not smart, did not shoot anything. Then you need the thing. You need the thing that does the one thing, which is, super cold. And that's I have the incinerator set, the Sitka incinerator. It's their top of the line, warm as it gets. Um, I bought it 50% off. But that's that. But that's for whitetails. Keep in mind, for out west, I've never needed anything warmer than I just walked through. Um, and so it's super, it's a good system because that allows you the pants. There's a little bit less tools in the toolbox, but you don't quite need as many things either. So, tops, you get 3, 4, 5 pieces of gear on the top, mix and match those. You pretty much cover every single thing you need to do. On the bottom, you're looking at maybe 3 to 4 pieces of bottoms, and you got everything covered. Now with feet, I run Kenetrek boots. I love Kenetrek boots. I'm probably going to die on the Kenetrek hill. I've had boots Danners, I've had Rocky Mountains, I've had lacrosse. I used to get hand-me-down boots because my dad and my brother were really picky on their boots, and they would buy a pair, not like them, and then give them to me, and that was the pair I had. And I have rock solid feet, durable feet. I don't have to break boots in rarely. I do pretty good. The Kenetrek boots that I tried on were like, oh my gosh, this is what boots are supposed to feel like. After all those years of hand-me-down boots, but Kenetreks run hot. They run a little hotter. Even my uninsulated Kenetreks are warmer than my 400 grain Danners. They're warmer. Honestly, I have Danner pronghorns that are absolute shit. I'm gonna say it. Sorry for the kids listening. I bought them because they're supposed to be super warm. Bow hunting boots, 1,600 grams of insulation. Worthless. I wear them now just to take miles off my Danners, but they're not warm. Or sorry, wear them now to take miles off my Kenetreks, so I don't wear out my Kenetreks as fast. But my Kenetreks are warmer. They just run hot, and I just don't sweat, which is nice. So even when it is warm, my feet don't sweat. So Kenetreks run a little bit warmer anyway. So I personally never have an issue with it, especially with a nice wool sock of wicking moisture. I just kind of switch out my socks. If it's antelope, pronghorn, elk, early season elk, bow hunting, early season, I just run a liner as my sock. I don't run a sock and a liner. I have actually never ran a sock and a liner that way. I don't do that. I just run liners. Most of the time, I just wear liners for socks. I really like it, and I don't really need more. When it gets late season whitetail or late season out west, where I'm going to be glassing all day from one spot, then I start to move up into higher weight socks, right? So I think Kenetrek makes them like the Colorado, the Montana, and the Alaska is their different weights. I don't get too into the socks. I just like, oh, this one's a little thicker than this one, and I put that one on, and that usually covers me. Now the caveat: super cold, I don't have a pair of like super warm pack boots. I wish I did. Kenny's also make a pair of pack boots. What I do is I have the Arctic Shield boot cover. So when it gets super cold, I drop a foot warmer in the bottom of my Arctic Shield boot covers, put my feet inside those, my boots and everything, keeps my feet warm. I just I cheap out. I get the hand warmers and the feet warmers when it's that cold in the whitetail stand instead of buying an $800 pair of boots or whatever it costs to get those super warm ones. So that's it. That's the system. And then the one thing that can kind of make or break your lower body system, gaiters. Gaiters are huge. If you go out west and the ground is wet, the grass is wet, the trees are wet, if you don't bring gaiters, your socks are going to be wet, your boots are going to be wet, and your pants are going to be wet. It's crazy with the difference that gaiters make. I use the Kenetrek gaiters. I bought them actually with all of the points that Sitka gives you when you sign up for the gear shop. So when you sign up for Sitka Insider and use the code Drawn West, everyone knows you get $50 in cash for the gear shop. And I use that to buy my Kenetreks, my Kenetrek gaiters. But what gaiters do, if you've never worn a pair of gaiters, they're a life changer. You will start to wear them. It's a waterproof layer that goes, there's a stirrup that you step on, it goes under your boot. Then it comes around this, like around your lower leg, and either zips or Velcros or something to come together. And it's only about a foot tall, but it covers the seam or the overlap between the bottom of your pants and the top of your boots. So what happens if you don't have a gaiter? You walk by wet grass, your boots, the outside of your boots get wet, the bottom of your pants starts to get wet. That moisture starts to wick up your pant leg. Then it hits your socks and the top of your boot. Then it goes down into your boots and your socks are wet. The gaiters bridge that gap, and so you don't get any moisture down into your boot. They're honestly amazing. I wear them 100 miles a year shed hunting in the snow. Always keeps my feet dry. So um, they are really truly amazing. From there, it's now I just get into the accessories for my clothing systems. Um, we talked about the two big things, the tops, the bottoms. Here it's just accessories, right? Is it a rifle hunt? We're talking rifle elk on this gear list right here. For folks that don't know what I'm looking at when I keep looking down, I got the printout version of the Drawn West gear sheet that I'm looking at. You can get both the print and the mobile. The mobile, you can check the boxes. You can add your own custom items at the bottom. Everything's linked if you do need to fill in some gear. But accessories, the gaiters, I always throw gaiters into the accessories bucket. The belt isn't, I mean, it's technically the bottoms, but belt, gaiters. This is a rifle hunt we're talking about. So I always bring a blaze orange beanie, like the Traverse beanie. It's a little lightweight beanie. Sometimes I put it over a hat if I need to, and a blaze orange trucker. If it's warm enough, and by warm enough, I mean like 40, 50 degrees, I'm wearing a trucker. I'd rather wear a ball cap and a hood than a beanie. I don't know why. That's just me. I always bring a Jetstream beanie if it's going to be. I'll bring it on an elk hunt. I didn't bring it to Nebraska because I knew it was going to be too hot for that. And then anything later than that, I have a Jetstream beanie too. It's just an insulated windproof one. So here's what I go. I get the camo because I bow hunt more than anything else. But then if it's gun season, I'll just put the Jetstream beanie on, and then I just put. Sometimes I'll put the trucker over the top. To be honest, that's how much I just love having a trucker hat on, or I'll put the Traverse beanie over that. Right, so I'm kind of wearing two stocking hats. Not they're not stocking hats, but two beanies, and I just use the light cheap. I mean, the Traverse Blaze Orange beanies like less than I think $30, but you get them on sale all the time at Shields or anything else. So it's super simple to just put that on instead of buying like two really nice hats, one in camel, one in blaze orange. For gloves, I've got a set of Traverse gloves. Here's a hack for everyone that hunts out west. You're constantly pulling out your phone and looking at your map, right? Your Onyx, your Go Hunt maps, whatever it is. You're constantly looking, is this the right spot? Where do we want to go? What's the ridge look like? Are we on the right track? Are we heading the right way? And they don't work. The Traverse gloves are supposed to be tech enabled, but all tech gloves suck, right? We all know that. Let's just call the duck a duck, right? They all suck. I took one set. I have a bunch of sets of Traverse. Those are like the really cheap, like entry level Sitka gloves. I took one set. I cut the last digit off on the pointer and the last digit off on the thumb. So now I can on my hand. I don't have to take my glove off 100 times a day. I just reach down. It's always on my right. Super hack for anyone. But that's my lightweight glove. So I'll be wearing that. Maybe archery hunting. Sometimes I just wear a pair of leather gloves too, to be honest with you. Um, or those Traverse. Sometimes boning. Sometimes the Traverse gloves are super nice if it's super cold. You keep that glove on and then you put those inside something warmer like a chopper. That way, when you take your hand out to reach for your phone or your gun, you don't lose all of your heat. Your hand's still kind of warm. Medium gloves, I'm either using Jetstream medium gloves, good weight there, or just an insulated pair of leather gloves. I really do just like a insulated pair of leather gloves. And then heavy gloves. It can be cold. It can be really cold. Your hands get cold the fastest. For heavy, heavy gloves, they've got the mittens, Sitka mittens. Honestly, what I use are choppers. Old school choppers with the liners inside of them. That's what I've always used. That's what's linked actually on our list. They're like $30. The if you go to Sitka and you get the incinerator mittens are $175. Bananas. They probably are worth it. They're probably amazing, but that's bananas. Get $30 pair of choppers. And then the last two things: street clothes or camp clothes. Like, are you going to wear your Sitka all night long if you're in camp? Or do you want to put on like a normal hoodie, sweatpants, gym shorts, you name it? I don't know. That's on the list. That's part of my clothing system. And then camp shoes. Do not forget your camp shoes. You don't want to have to put your Kenetreks on in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. I always like to bring a pair of Crocs, keep them under my cot. And that is it. That is how I design a clothing system to work together using pieces generally. And for out west, it's true, using pieces that all have multiple jobs. They can do multiple things. They're designed for Western hunting. They're designed for performance. They're not going to hold you back, right? Like wearing a pair of jeans, you try to cross a log, jeans just don't stretch or move the right directions. So that's how I've approached it. And down the road, eventually, when we launch the whitetail pack list, we'll go through that and I'll share like how I'm using those pieces whitetail hunting. We kind of talked about it here today too. Um, but that's it. That's the clothing system, and that's how you can design your own clothing system to work together as a true system of tools that are working together instead of buying one of everything and then having a piece of gear that only does one job. I have a couple. I admitted it. The incinerator jacket, the incinerator bibs, they really only do one job. However, these Western pieces, the ones we talked about, the base layers, the mid layers, the windproof, the puffy, you start piecing those together in different ways. You get like 12 different jackets. That's why I do it. Hopefully you guys think it's a good idea. If not, if you think I'm an idiot, tell me. Write in. Send us an email. We love it. But make sure you think through your clothing system and what pieces do you really need. It's expensive stuff. No matter what brand you pick, it's expensive stuff if you get good quality hunting gear. And so you want to make sure you're intentional and not just, oh, that looks good, I'll buy that. But how is it going to work with your other stuff? Did you already have that? It's just a different color. Is it going to layer well? There's a lot of questions to ask. Just have that plan. Just have that plan going in. So you only need to spend the perfect amount of money. You don't have to spend too much or too little to have success in the West. It's not about the gear. It's about the memories. It's about the elk. It's about the punching, the tags. It's about the stakes on the fire. The gear just helps us a little bit. So don't go too nuts with it. Make sure you just get what you need. But yeah, that's the rifle elk clothing system. Same system for mule deer. We talked about it. Antelope, early season, mid season, late season, covers everything you need. And it's sweet. I love it. That's what I've been using for the last 9 years. I add a little bit here and there as time goes on. Maybe I get a little chubbier than I like, and I have to get the next size up of a hoodie or a top. And that's unfortunate, but it happens. And so that's basically the system. That's how I run it, and it goes amazing. So thank you, folks, for listening through this. If you haven't yet, go check out the Drawn West pack list. They're free. 100% free, always will be free. They're made to just make your life easier when you're packing for these hunts. They're free on our website, getdrawnwest.com. You're going to get signed up for our newsletter when you get it, so you're going to stay in touch with all of the awesome stuff we got going on. Please subscribe to the podcast on whatever app you use. They're all great. That helps our show a ton. And if you have a minute, I'm going to ask you one more time. Please go subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're trying to hit that 1,000 subscriber mark that unlocks the full suite of tools and resources on YouTube. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you to each and every one of you for supporting Drawn West. We appreciate it. And until next time, folks, stay drawn.